to stay in Denmark. We don't hold this, no Denmark.
What do you want?
Sweden.
There's 500 kilometers to Sweden. How do you think you can walk to Sweden? Why do you not want to seek asylum in a peaceful country?
That's a good question. We have two reasons. The first one, the salary for the refugees decreased about 50% from 10,000 koruna to about 5,000. And the most important question is the employment like in Finland or other countries. They make us to us to receive to take our family to us that they left behind in our country. And they allow to us to bring them about 2 to 3 months. But in new country, just allow to us about 1 or maybe years. So this is what we have
What do you do when you become a refugee? You start walking. Calais is located 34 kilometers from the La Manche Channel on the coast of France. At the center of the city, there's a giant refugee camp. The locals call it the jungle because it smells and feels like a zoo. And the refugees also call it that because they have no laws there. Their only goal is to leave France, cross the channel, and worm their way into England. 7,000 people live there in despicable hunger, and the violence there is insane. I once saw how a reporter who tried to get himself in got mugged at knife point. Another time I saw how a person almost got beaten to death. I didn't ask what happened. I was too scared. You can only get inside the camp with a special permit, and if something happens to you inside this no man's land, you're on your own. The jungle is cramped, full of tents, ropes with torn laundry hang between them, and around them are piles of garbage no one ever throws away. And their showers are made out of thin tent sheets and a bucket of cold water. And they don't have running water there, so the camp always smells from piss and shit. Some of the refugees live in the tents, and others in tin huts, but some don't even have that. And they sleep on blankets in the open air. And the French police wants to minimize the population to just 1,500 people, so every once in a while they will storm in with tear gas and clubs and squash the territory. And the refugees' response is always with violence, riots, burnt tires. They improvise explosives and throw back. They have nothing to lose. They have already lost everything. When I was a student at the National College of Art and Design in Dublin, I volunteered in the jungle over the summer. The refugees liked me because I always gave them what they really needed. Shoes, mainly. No one has proper shoes there. They are either ripped or too small. They don't have water, no soap. Some don't even own a toothbrush. They live a drifter's life, a small bag. Some barely have a plastic bag. Most of their stuff is discarded and they lose most of it on the road. So I thought, what do they really need? How could I help them more? And then I realized, my graduation project. I'll do my graduation project about them. I'll design a bathing kit for them. A kit that will have everything they need, only small sized. I'm a genius. The kit I made has all the key elements. For example, sanitizing soaps, napkins, razors, matches. But the key element is a portable shower. One that you can take on the road with you, really. It's a small plastic bag that can contain up to 10 liters of water. Now, I've designed 3 different kits. One for men, one for women, and one for children. All are really, really small with easy-to-use inner compartments. Now, this kit costs to make $6.79. And I plan to sell it for the refugees for just $7.50. Really close to the manufacturing cost. Now, the idea behind this business model is that the product itself is really cheap, so the refugees could afford it. And in time, I could develop and manufacture it through third world countries, just like in the clothing industry. These days, I'm trying to raise money to move from the prototype production to the mass production. And it would be great if there was a company who supported me and helped me push this thing forward. So also, I could promote myself as an industrial designer. If you want to donate, you can find me on my Kickstarter page. A tiny drop is an ocean. I'm John Godfrey, and I thank you for listening.
Refugees, they wander around the streets of Turkey like piece of shit. They have this look in their eyes like they don't belong, begging you to save them. And I used to be just like them, so it took me 5 minutes to recognize them. أحي كيف البيت؟ شو الأحوال في الحلب؟ How's the house back there still standing? All your family is here or anyone left behind? At the beginning I was just a connection. Hooking them up with a professional smuggler. Took commission. I wanted to give my people freedom. They deserve freedom. They are young, innocent, miserable people that spend the rest of their money, but until Europe won't wake up and start helping, we will take this money. There is no other chance. I can show you. Just today I received 150 messages from people who made it into Europe. They sent me so many thank yous. Families are willing to risk everything in order to get inside of Europe, so whoever sees the smallest chance will grab it with 2 hands. Because even if you'll die on the way, or even if you get robbed or blackmailed, everything is better than the shit going on back home. I can sell you a passport. Italian, French, British. Can sell you a fake driver license, a fake ID. Now each document like this would cost thousands of euros, but my specialty is to get you inside Europe through Greece, mainly through the Lesbos island, and that costs 2,000 euros per person. You have children? A 5-year-old also takes place in a boat. He'll pay less, but he will still pay. There are two options to get you inside of Europe by sea. You have rubber boats. They're 9 on 3 meters. They can hold up to 20 people. I squeeze in 30. I know it's crowded, but I still do it. We also have another kind of boats. We like to call them yachts because they are made of iron and steel, and there is less chance of drowning. Now, those yachts, they come in 3 sizes. The big one can hold up to 40 people. I put in 80, 90. The middle one can hold up to 30 people. I squeeze 60, 70. And the small one can hold up to 20 people. 40 is fine with me. I set one price with the Turk and another one with the refugee. With the Turk, I set a lower price and then I get a double profit. You can also close a deal where every 8th passenger is for free. Now, if that happens, that's great because then I will take all the money to myself. This is our winter prices. A rubber boat would cost between 500 to 700 euros. A rubber boat with an engine would cost between 1,200 to 1,500, and the yacht would cost between 1,500 to 2,000 euros. By summer, prices rise up to 30%, and I do 2 to 3 shifts a day, and the minute they go out to sea, only Allah is at their side. But there are other ways to smuggle you into Europe. Smuggling by car and then by foot to Germany or Norway through the Balkans would be 2,500 euros. A truck to Norway would be 3,000 euros. To Germany, also 3,000 euros. I just remember this one time, friends of mine, they transferred 71 refugees in the back of a truck. They found them dead because the back of the truck had no vents. Amateurs. There is a lot of responsibility in my job. I'm responsible for many people's lives. If the Turkish police will catch them in Turkish water, they will bring them back to shore, put them in jail for 24 hours, and then release them to the nearest bus station. But if they'll catch me, I can sit in jail for 30 years, and there's a fine to pay of 50,000 euros. And I too have a family to support. My name is Malik El-Bakhar, the king of sea, or in short, El-Kael, the uncle. I have 35 people who works for me. They are in charge of putting everyone on boats, giving them life vests and waterproof things for their documents. I have lawyers, I have bodyguards. Sometimes I even feel like I'm running a company. $366,402 people made it into Greece this past year, and that's a lot of money. This past year I have made 2 million euros, and right now I have in my back pocket 10,000 euros cash. I never meant to be a smuggler. I'm only 25. My uncle let me into the business. I just didn't want to die.
What do you do when you become a refugee? You start walking. You start walking to save your own life. If someone attacked your village, you will run the hell out of there in any way possible. In your family car, in one of your neighbor's trucks. You'll sneak onto the first bus out of there, maybe even inside a container. But it doesn't matter what you do. Eventually, you will all end up at the same place. The border.
Swimming. Correct swimming, efficient swimming, competitive swimming is very similar to holding a paddle of a small boat. Once you push one hand in one direction, the other hand is being pushed at the other direction, inevitably. The paddle is one unit. So is swimming. One hand outside the water with no resistance, as the other hand inside the water, trying to overcome resistance, and together they try to create efficiency, harmony. It was raining like crazy, so they gave us these thin raincoats. It didn't help. I could feel the water running in through my pants, and it felt like I was standing in a puddle. They didn't have any coats. Well, some of the children had plastic bags over their heads. It didn't matter how tall they were. They looked at me from below, like a beat-up dog. Brown eyes, brown skin, brown hair, all wearing rags, old sweatpants. All the women wore hijabs. They were all the same, mumbling in Arabic. And their children, the yelling, the crying, the noise, it was so much noise. They came close to me, it was too close. This is the biggest wave of refugees that came to our border with Greece so far. The parliament in Skopje promised they would send 3,500 more police officers to help prevent them from crossing the border. Perhaps they'll even build a wall. Until that happens, we are one unit and they are thousands. Legally speaking, we can't arrest them. We can't even handcuff them. I'm standing with my back to the wall in the middle of this shithole, trying to stop them from crossing the border. I have a club in my hand, an AK-47 strapped to my back, and all of a sudden I can see this girl. She was maybe 4 years old. She had a bow in her hair. I kept looking for her among all those people. I kept looking for that bow. How could she keep that bow among all that chaos? The bow didn't even hold her hair. Half of it was sticking outside and covered her face. Why didn't she take it off? Suddenly, one of them grabbed my coat, pulling, screaming, "Why don't you speak Macedonian? I don't understand what you want. I can't help you. Sir, please, get back! I don't care what you need. I don't care what you want." But then came more like him, and the women started waving their hands in the air, and the cries of the children, I felt suffocated. I grabbed my club, and I waved it in the air. "Get away from me," I yelled. At one point, I didn't see any police officer around me, so I waved even harder with my club, and I started hitting them. I hit someone in the back. I could feel his spine breaking. "Sit down! Sit down right now, you two!" I hit someone in the head. Maybe if he'll bleed, he doesn't come close to me. I hit someone in the face. Maybe I broke someone's jaw. I don't know what happened to me. I was scared. "You two, sit down, lady! You're all playing the needy part. You are just terrorists that came to destroy us, aren't you? You and your baby in the mud, in the dirt. I don't care. I just want order. I just want order right now. For all I care, they can all die. Die! Die!"
I realize this is a controversial issue. I really do. I understand this, and it is hard for me. I thought about this subject over and over again. I thought, and then I thought some more. Listen, on the one hand, I really want to open the gates, to invite them to my home. But, on the other hand, it's important for me to keep my Christian way of life. And I'm afraid these two are contradictions. I am in a constant struggle. I don't know how to bridge between the two. I am torn, genuinely torn. But I thought about it again today. I thought, and I've considered all the pros and cons, and I've made up my mind. They must be helped. We have to help them. But not here, not inside our borders, not in our home, not in Canada. That kid that was strangled with chains by refugees in Toronto, I saw it with my own eyes on TV. Back at the days, their friends would have arrived at the new countries happy. They would get off the plane and immediately started walking at the local market, immersing themselves in culture and community. But the ones that came here now, I don't think they do that. No, they bring their culture here. They don't give it up, and that leads to violence, to vandalism, sexual assault. We bring thousands of people into our home without identifying the ones that are potentially dangerous. And it takes only a few bad apples that will come here, and the next thing you have is riots. For example, it took only a few of them to take down the World Trade Center in New York. There used to be one army fighting against another with weapons in a battlefield, and there was order. But now it's different. Now, with all the sophisticated weapons we have today, how do you deal with just one bad apple? We are living in a very vulnerable time for us. Yet again, I never lose sight of the fact that we are talking about people who need help, medicine, and a roof over their head. And that is why I call all the people in their area to join forces and take responsibility over their brothers. This way, they could stay in their familiar habitat with the same cultural costumes, with the same weather conditions. And we, and the rest of the Western world, would be very happy to donate, to give, to hand out money. Send money over there. And I'm full of compassion over their suffering. No, it tears me apart. But it won't do any good for us if they'll come here and start knocking on our doors. It won't do good for our home and not for our Christian faith. But money will do them good. Anyways, these were my thoughts. I will be very happy to hear your comments, but only if they are organized and polite. Thank you.
I, Angelina Jolie, Pete, an ambassador of goodwill for the UN. Thank you for coming. We're gathered here today to talk about millions of desperate families. Families so cut off from civilization they don't even know a day like this exists. And there are millions. I'm standing here today to tell you that they are not just numbers. They are not just data. They're not even just refugees. They are mothers, fathers, daughters, and sons. They are farmers, teachers, engineers, doctors, each and every one of them unique. Each and every one of them an individual. And each and every one of them has a remarkable story in the face of loss. They are the most impressive people I have known, and at the same time the most vulnerable. Stripped of home and country, refugees are buffeted from every ill wind that blows across this planet. I remember meeting a woman from Afghanistan in an abandoned refugee camp in Pakistan. She was pregnant. She couldn't travel with all the others because she was too far out in her pregnancy. She was left in the camp with her 2 children by themselves. She offered me a cup of tea. I didn't feel it was necessary, but the Afghans have pride and they are known for their hospitality. We walked into a dirty small tent. She dusted off 2 mattresses they used to eat, to sleep, and also to pray. We sat and talked, and she turned out to be the loveliest woman I have met in a long while. The tea she gave me was the last one she had, but she insisted I drink and enjoy it. Apparently, those who have the least will always give you the most. Before I left, the woman pointed at the child. He had a dusty face and blue eyes just like the sky. The most beautiful eyes I have ever seen. She pointed at him and said he was always asking for more food, and it breaks her heart to tell him there's nothing. She asked if we could take him with us so we could eat. Each and every mother here today knows how desperate she must have felt. I came back to that region 3 times ever since and looked for her. I never found her. I remember in Tanzania I met a young kid. He was maybe 15 years old. He was shot in his back and was left paralyzed. He crawled forward and shook my hand. He had big eyes and a smile that filled the whole tent with light. Despite everything that had happened to him, he was full of love and laughter. I tried to understand why they didn't take him to a hospital or at least give him a wheelchair. They told me all his family got killed and there was no one left to take care of him. He didn't receive asylum in any other country. The entire camp is full of war victims, full of refugees. I saw children full of hunger and fear, mothers crying, fathers wounded. I couldn't sleep all night. Later on, I met a 9-year-old girl who saw all her family died in front of her eyes. She grabbed her baby brother and they ran into the jungle where they survived by themselves for 2 weeks, eating only bananas. When I met her, she didn't speak. She just rocked back and forth. I tried to tell her how brave she was, but she just stared at the air, didn't look at me. That little girl had strength and courage I will never have. On that trip, and many more to come, I came to realize that they are not only the most vulnerable people, but also the strongest and the most resilient. As an American, I know how much diversity can make us stronger. We are a country that was built on immigrants and refugees. I believe it is our job to show the world that refugees are not a burden. They are survivors. They overcome. And that is why I urge you to look beyond the numbers and see the individual, the human being. For the past 9 years, I've been doing many trips to the refugee camps. I do it in order to raise awareness for the burden caused. But actually, I do it mainly for myself. The refugees I have met changed my life profoundly. The 9-year-old girl showed me what courage is. The pregnant woman taught me about motherhood. And the young kid that was shot and was left paralyzed showed me the value of a soul that cannot be broken. So today, on World Refugee Day, I thank them. I thank them for letting me get inside their lives. And I thank all of you for coming. Thank you.
What do you do when you become a refugee? You start walking, and at some point, men in uniform will demand to see your papers. What? No papers? Why don't you have them? Did you grab your child's hand instead of your ID? Or maybe you remember to pack food and money but not your passport. It doesn't matter. Step out of the vehicle, stand here and wait. Now, papers or no papers, your life as a refugee has genuinely started this instant on foot.
Hi, Alison.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
No, you're not.
I'm not?
You're not.
No?
No. Let's be honest. Let's start from the beginning. How's life in Germany these days?
I actually moved back from Germany to the US.
Okay. Then you're fine.
Yes, I'm fine.
My apologies. Well, tell me what happened.
What happened was bad. I saw the change and it was bad. Look, I was living in Hamburg and beneath my house there was an ambulance station, so I got used to hearing them once, twice a day. But for the past month, I used to hear them 8 times a night. Yes, it's okay. I got used to seeing Turkish women who wore hijab in the neighborhood. But ever since the last wave, more and more women are suddenly wearing the burqa. As someone who had tried really hard to get a job and to be treated as equal, I had a very hard time accepting that change. I liked living in Germany and I wasn't planning on going back, but I just couldn't do it anymore.
I'm interested, though, at your experience in Germany. Did you, as a white woman, I don't know if you're white or not, but as a white woman, have you ever felt any harassment or discomfort?
No?
You never felt frightened?
Well, sometimes I used to see groups of 5 or 6 men standing together in the street. That sure made you feel uncomfortable. In Leipzig, one time they put a group of refugees in a gymnasium and told the girls not to come in skirts so there wouldn't be any misunderstandings. I have 2 daughters back home. I didn't want to change their lives like this.
Or they're going backwards instead of forwards. That's ridiculous.
Well, it's not ridiculous, it's scary. In Kent on New Year's Eve, they accused a refugee in several sexual harassments. Even then, they asked women to change the way they dressed. I read that sometimes they're being declared innocent when it's totally obvious that they are guilty.
That's because the government doesn't want to show how dangerous those refugees are. So the police is being asked to keep the numbers lower. You see, we live in this world of magical thinking where we think that if we change the numbers, the statistics, we will change reality. If I will move to Japan, I will not ask the Japanese to change their costumes and learn English. I will little. I will learn Japanese.
Okay, you have here in New York City, you have Chinatown, where you will see only Chinese people speaking Chinese, eating Chinese food. It feels like you're in China. You go to Little Italy, you'll find only Italians. Well, they don't pose a threat. They just want to feed you pasta and pizza. But the woman that wears the burqa, she wants to change the way they treat women in Europe. I saw it in Bill Warner's videos. Do you know who that is?
Sure. That is the difference between culture and sexual rape. You see, Culture doesn't make the streets unsafe. The culture doesn't make crime rate go up.
That's right.
And there's only, again, a matter of IQ. If you come from one of those Arab countries, you will not learn English and will not become a part of the American society. And even if you will, what will you be? A waiter? A janitor? Okay, so there will be people saying, we used to be just like them. We also used to be refugees. The Chinese, the first generation, maybe got stuck in Chinatown making you dim sum. But the second generation, he learned English and become a part of the American society.
Well, that's how it is when you have motivation.
That's how it is when you are smart. You see the ones that are coming now, they're the ones who woke up too late, so they missed the boat. So they will come here and they will scream, racism, racism. They have no respect to the law. I mean, they have respect to their Muslim law, but they have zero respect to the Western law. You can put a lion and a sheep in one bed, but only one of them will wake up in the morning.
And I know who that will be. Well, we'll just have to wait and see.
We will not wait, and you will not see. Did you know that black people in America, they resist an arrest 9 times more than white people? 9 times. And then they are shocked when the police is shooting at them. If you had some IQ, if you were smart, you would have realized that nothing good can come out from resisting an arrest.
Well, when I think about it, more refugees are men. And the government said they could bring their women with them, but I don't really know.
If they will bring their women with them, they will have more and more children, and who's gonna pay for that?
Us.
And it's not like they're gonna learn English, right? They don't even know how to speak, how to read and write their own language, so they will come here. And they will bring their wives, and they will have so many children, until the country will go so poor, because we won't have enough resources for the rest of us.
That's a recipe for disaster.
Every immigrant coming inside of Europe is on the expense of an unborn German child. Did you know that the average number of children in a German family is 1.5, while for those refugees it's somewhere between 3 to 4? It won't take so long until Germany as we know it would cease to exist.
They tried to fool us, but I didn't buy it, and that's why I left Germany and went back to the US.
You talk better with your legs than with your mouth.
I'm just trying to stay optimistic.
There is no reason to stay optimistic.
You're right, I'm not.
It's all about numbers, you see, statistics. They are getting stronger, while we are getting weaker. They have motivation, while only we wake up in the morning thinking, how can I make my day nicer? Nice. That's all we care about.
Oh, that's really sad what you're saying.
Look, I don't want to put feminine labels on you, but I'm talking numbers, statistics, and you're going through an emotional breakdown.
Do you remember that little boy that drowned in the shores of Turkey?
Sure. Back then, the whole world pointed at us, called us racist, and what did we do? We opened the borders. We even rolled out a red carpet.
Well, I don't know what to do about it.
They destroyed Europe. They deserve nothing.
You're right.
Good, Alison.
You're so right.
I am so happy we had this conversation.
Me too.
Have a wonderful day.
You too. Angela Merkel is ugly, right? Almost as ugly as Hillary Clinton. Hey, if you ever want to stop racism and sexual harassment in the world, just show men pictures of Hillary Clinton and Angela Merkel. They'll turn anybody off. Even those Muslim refugees.
They're not real refugees, so fuck them. Look at them over there in Africa, sitting in their dump holes with flies sticking to them, carrying a bag with their own shits on their back. But the ones that came to our country, they look nice. They look like they just got out of the gym. Hardly any women, right? Because they're mostly men and children who are supposed to fight in the war over there, and then they show up here with their cell phones. They're not real refugees. It's like some of them are complaining because they're cold and they don't like the food we give them, so they leave the countries that took them and go look for others, spoiled brats.
But Angela Merkel, as ugly as she is, says, I'll open the gates, I'll bring some refugees here so they can rape you, and then afterwards, I'll bring some more refugees and they can also rape you, and then after everyone's done raping you, let's give them jobs. Yes, let's change the country's laws so they can compete for your jobs, your jobs!
Here, that dead baby on that beach, he was washed up between the rocks, but they moved his body to the shoreline because it photographs better. Those father, mother, and child were already safe where they were, but they chose to move somewhere else. The father wanted to move because he wanted dental work done, so he took his wife and kids, put them on that fucking rubber boat, and then his kid drowned and died. So fuck him! And then everybody cries, right? Poor kid! Poor kid? Yes, it's his father's problem for putting him on that boat. Don't we have kids here? Don't they have a hard time? Start thinking about the kids in your own country and stop bringing that shit over here. Because here we sing Christmas carols. Here we eat pork. Here we drink alcohol. And now those fuckers are in our schools. And we cannot feed our children pork anymore. Our children are starving fuckers.
Why did they come to Europe, huh? Why don't they go to one of their Muslim countries? It's fucked up. They come to Europe, European companies give them jobs, and so they keep coming. Oh no, wait. It's happening also here. Angela Merkel says it's not fair. I opened the gates, I let you come in, I gave you jobs. Next thing on the list, kill some of you motherfuckers just because you said something against their prophet.
I cannot get inside a bank with a helmet on, but with the burqa, sure. Their women wear that shit because their men makes them, and that's how they tame them, and at the same time look at our women, fuckers.
Pay attention and listen to what Angela Merkel says. Oh, and make sure your woman dresses right so that God forbid she doesn't get raped by one of those fuckers, and then in the media they will defend them and not her. They would say, what did you expect? She brought it on herself. She walked with a skirt in the middle of the street. Something is seriously fucked up with those people. All those lefties and Angela Merkel, they support extreme Muslims. They want to kill you. Leaders, leading us straight into a disaster.
What do you do when you become a refugee? You take one step, and so it begins. You leave your old life and get into this new one. You crawl under a barbed wire into dependency, vulnerability, transparency. You're a refugee.